Hello, and welcome, dear listeners, to another enthralling installment of podcast Love People Technology Learning. And I'm your spirited host, Tamara Kocharova, CEO of Lanes AI. And I'm thrilled to have you join us once more for an exhilarating plunge into insightful conversations.
The people who I see succeeding in this startup space are folks who are willing to talk about problems that people were not willing to talk about for years. And so, learner retention might be one of them. We have this big problem with learner retention. What does that mean? How do we, solve it? Oh, here's an AI-driven coach bot type thing, in that space. For EdTech startups to be successful, they need to really, really define the problem and talk about the problem.
It's really important. Remember that technology is just like a small piece which can connect methodology. It means problem which our learners, business, HR, L&D profs have. It's first of all. When I saw you and Rosalie together, and I feel her heartbeat, and it's like the same way like you have. It was really so interesting to see, because I'm a mom of 3 kids, and it's really important for me.
Well, my son Isaac also has a big heart, and someday you'll meet him. Well.
Today, my excitement knows no bounds as I introduce our esteemed guest to all of you, the one and only Phylise Banner. I'm immensely grateful for the serendipitous encounter with Phylise. A year ago, she stumbled upon Lanes AI's demo and was utterly captivated by the product. Her belief in our vision led her to extend an invitation for us to participate in Tech Learn conference. Phylise is a learning experience designer with over 25 years of vision, action, and leadership experience in transformational teaching and learning approaches within academia and industry. A pioneer in online and virtual learning, she regularly seeks out and embraces opportunities to experiment with emerging pedagogies and technologies to create vibrant and engaged communities of practice. She is a certified project management professional, certified learning environment architect, Adobe education leader, STC fellow, performance storyteller, avid angler, and aviation enthusiast. She is also the proud owner of a 1967 amphicar. Today, we stand on the cusp of an exciting adventure poised to explore a myriad of topics and promise to make this episode a truly enriching and exhilarating experience for all of you. So, my dear people, buckle up for a journey of insights and innovation at every turn. Welcome to our show. Hi, Phylise. I'm so thrilled to see you in my podcast today, and welcome. We had a great conversation before I started to record this episode, and it was really so interesting. And you have some interesting story for me. Yes, hello.
Hello. So we always have interesting stories when we talk, and it's always a pleasure to share with you. And I love how open you are to everyone else's stories. So thank you for listening. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh my God, yes. And today I'm really excited to share with my listeners your invaluable experience. And getting ready for my episode, I had to Google what a M5 car from 1967 looks like, because we talked about that I'm a person from 20th century, and I was impressed by this car. And can you tell me about it a little?
It's so funny that you start with this, because folks won't know what we were talking about before you hit the record button, but this ties right into that. So my father was an inventor. He was one of the 100,000 people that worked on Apollo. He was a radio radar engineer. worked on the Fresnel optical landing system, which is how airplanes land on aircraft carriers. So that brain, eccentric man, was also an avid fisherman. And the first time he saw an amphicar, and I think he was over in England when he first saw it, he had to have one because it's a car that drives right into the water. As my daughter Rosalie used to say when she was little, everyone can drive their car into the water. I can drive mine back out. So in 1962, he bought his first amphicar, and that was his daily driver. He drove that car to work, went fishing after work, and came home with a string of fish hanging on the side. And over the years, back then you got a new car every year, new model came out, you got the new one. We had 5 amphicars total. We only had 2 at the same time. That was the max we had. But the 1967 was the last one we have, and I own that still to this day. And imagine growing up thinking that it's perfectly normal to drive your car into the water. So I did not know otherwise. I remember as an adult, I had the empty car, I was driving it, stopped to get gas, and some guy runs out and says, I remember that car. I remember a man with a little girl sleeping in the back of that car. And that was me. And that was my life. It was normal. And the things that were normal to me were obviously not normal. Right.
Yes, right.
And people talk about being my age and seeing this evolution of technology and, digital nativity and as in later years and later generations. And I'm a digital native because my father was so eccentric that we didn't have dice to play board games. We had a random number generator that he built.
Yes, oh my God.
So this is why I am the way I am. The mindset of my parents, who were open and willing to try and to be curious, gave me the strength to be able to do the same. And I don't know otherwise.
Oh my God. Yes, I love it. I love it. And you told about to be curious like a child for all your life. It's really important to save it. It's so hard, I know, because we have like so long life experience, like from our life. But like people who save it, we don't have age. We don't have age, and like nobody knows how old we are. Yes, oh my God, exactly. And like, yes, I saw a lot of pictures about this car I've never heard before. And yes, I saw the pictures where the car in the water. It was so like, oh my God, real. And now you told the story about your father, and I had the same experience in my life because like I was born in USSR, we don't have so much money, but like I remember that's my father. He was really person who's with a passion about cars. And all my summer vacation we spent with my mom and with my dad on our road journey because we traveled a lot in Armenia, and I was in the back seats like always. I slept there. I read my first Bible there, like I was, I think, 4 or 5 years old. And like, yes, the cars, like, oh my God, it's really great feelings, emotions, and like something which I really save in my mind, and I want to share it with my children too. It's
So you
so
talk
great.
about these journeys that we've taken, right? And the notion of curiosity. And you sent me a list of 4,000 questions for this short podcast. And I want to kind of like move this into what that means in our lives, in our spaces, and why my approach to learning and development may seem different to other people. And it is all about what it means to journey, what it means to travel. And I will use the word curiosity 1,000 times today while we talk, because that's important, that's critical, right? How do we elevate curiosity in the work that we do, in the learning and the teaching that we do? But everything has been this journey. And think about when you stopped along the road, why you stopped along the road. Was it to get something? Was it to eat something, right? Was it because you ran out of gas? Was it to stop to watch the sunset? Was it to see a landmark? Was it just to drive?
Right, absolutely.
All of these pieces.
Yeah, and all of these pieces are really important for training and development industry and about learning and development industry. And now in the era of technology is so important because like we cannot create some innovation or something without curiosity because like technology can do it. Like how we can be better than technology. It's just about our life experience. It's something which we have inside and what we can develop and what the businesses are thinking about, how to develop curiosity, like skills to learn something new, how to be like all the lifelong learning people. Like, yes, it's so important. And of course, for sure, you told I have 500,000 questions for you. And I have some questions because, you know, it's so great to listen some life stories. And I do it like all my podcasts, not just about professional, because like our professional is L&D industry and our listeners are from learning and development industry. It's why I should ask you some, like, you know, some professional questions. And you start to talk about your life journey, about your father, about your family. And I think maybe it's why you are in learning and development industry. I'm not sure. I don't know your story. But like, let's start from the very beginning. And I would like to ask you how you began your career in education and instructional design and what's inspired you, like, yes, to make this choice.
My first career was not in learning design. I went to school for graphic design and I had worked in engineering drafting. And once I got my first degree in graphic design, there was an ad in the New York Times. I was living in New York City. There was an ad in the New York Times for a graphic designer or an engineering draftsperson. That was me. I had both skills. And back then, we did everything by hand, right? And I
Yes.
could draw a straight line. And for those of you that are above a certain age, you'll get this. I could draw a very long straight line. I could ink a 6-point rule, you know, a massive skill back in the day.
Yeah.
And I worked for the conference board for many years and did charts and graphs and maps. Then I moved over to the Federal Reserve Bank and worked in the research department doing charts and graphs and maps. And we would get the data before Greenspan. I was there when Alan Greenspan was the chairman of the Fed, and we would make things simple. So we would take the complex and make things simple. So I was doing data visualization back before data visualization was a thing. But I didn't really understand anything about the data. So I went back to school for another degree in data analysis and visualization. And I went to NYU's Gallatin division, which was a student design major, and got to really learn statistics, learn analysis, and understand more about what I was doing, not what I was drawing. And everything I was doing at that time was making complex concepts clear. And so I joined the Society for Technical Communication way back then, way back then, and found other people who sort of understood what technical communication was. I was doing that. There weren't that many visual people. It was mostly tech writers, but I felt like I found my people who really understood what it meant to make the complex clear, and found the fields of human-computer interaction and information design. So then from there, you know, what did it transition to next? We got computers at the Fed, right? And while I was in school doing graphic design, I was the one who worked the typesetting machine and wrote markup language, HTML, before HTML. Then we got computers while I was at the Fed. I learned HTML, worked on one of their first websites, but also did programming to transform data into charts and graphs. So now I was doing that data visualization with the aid of technology. And computers have always been my friends. I've always loved them. How can I use technology to make this simpler? When my parents started aging and my kids were kindergarten age, I wanted to get out of New York City and come back to upstate New York. And there was a company called Documentation Strategies, a woman named Anne Moynihan. She had a consulting firm. She hired me to come and do data visualization there, information visualization and graphic design for them, for their clients. And I was building web pages. The New York State Division of the Budget, I did their first website. And then Skidmore College had a position open for someone to help faculty do web enhanced teaching. So create web pages for their courses and then to do training and documentation. Went over to Skidmore, that was it, right? So being able to develop full training programs to really understand what training was, and then to help faculty transition into using technology to help them teach. So magnificent entry into this whole space, loved the work, loved the people, and suddenly Skidmore gets $500,000 to develop an online program for degree completion through the University Without Walls. And I'm like, bring me over, let me do this. And they did. And that was my dip, my first toe dip into online learning. This is in the 90s.
Wow.
The 90s. So this is early on. This was the Online Learning Consortium, used to be the Sloan Foundation. Sloan gave Skidmore the funding, and I built a front end, back end, no learning management system, this experiential, beautiful space for our learners online. Working with a faculty member who said, I want one page. And I said, you can't have one page. Right? It needs to have a couple pages. You need to give the learners an experience. I want one page. It's like, well, no, you can't. Trying to negotiate this. And finally, I went to his class and I sat down in his physical classroom and he taught in one page. And I realized I knew nothing about education. And so I went to get my doctorate. I'm all but dissertation, and I have been for a very long time, and that's okay. I ended up with my master's, another master's from them. And I fell in love with educational theory and the way that educational theory and technology have evolved together over time. And so this all just became a passion project. My career took on a completely different trajectory. And when Skidmore decided to close this program and the online program with it, I decided I didn't want to stay and do 18 to 22-year-old on-campus design, instructional design, learning experience design. I was in this online space and I wanted to focus on this whole intersection of technology, theory, and practice. And that's what did it. From there, you do your job well, you get promoted, ended up as director, right? I've been doing consulting, in 2016, I gave that up and started consulting full time. And just this year in January, went back to higher ed because it's a institution that I believe so strongly in. I'm at Champlain College. I love their approach to online learning. I feel privileged to have this position. And so that long story, didn't make it short, but there you have it.
Oh my God, yes. And it was unexpected that I did not see in your resume, I don't remember, about like your graphic design and like, data analytics or like HTML or something like that before. And it's so interesting, great journey. And now you're learning and development. And I was thinking when I was listening to you, like I was thinking, okay, but it's so like hard skills. Because graphic designs, like data analysis, like everything about HTML or something, it's like hard skills which you developed like a lot. But like now you are in the industry with the soft skills development. Where was connection? Where did you find the way how to develop another hand of your experience? Because the biggest part now in training and development, it's about like soft skills. It's yes, of course, for sure we need to know everything about like product, about like how to do this one, data, like everything. But like yes, where you connected.
That connection comes because everything is about experience. Go back to that faculty member who taught in one page, basically got up in front of the class and just blast it out. We all have different ways that we portray ourselves, that we give that we teach, that we learn, all of these different ways. And for every one of us, it's an experience. Learning is an experience, whether it's how to change a tire, whether it's how to, buckle your seatbelt, or how to be a leader, whatever we're doing. What my work is about is making the complex clear, making things beautiful. This is why we came together, because beauty is so important to both of us. Beauty
Yes.
in so many different ways, beauty, excellence, all of these things. And also, it's about gifts, right? What can we give each other? What is the gift that you give your students? What is the gift that they take, right? No one wants to just sit there and absorb, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a hard skill or a soft skill. And in my career, and my advice to anyone as they grow in their career, absorb everything. It is what makes you who you are.
Yes. And you told that it's about making the gift to your learners. And I have a question for you. What gift you can share with your learners when you are instructional designer, or when you are facilitator, or you are consultant?
Autonomy.
Oh, wow. Tell more about this point.
So, especially with adults, and I would say children, you talk about, being curious like a child. We are always curious. We are all curious. It doesn't go away as when we're children. But autonomy is so important to every learner in every learning experience. I can talk through controlled autonomy. What does that look like, right? You must progress on this journey this way. But autonomy is deciding where you want to pull over and stop, what you want to have for lunch in the rest area. I'm going to use travel the whole time as my metaphors here.
Yeah.
But the biggest gift you can give any learner is that autonomy. And some folks use choice. And how do we build choice in? I see autonomy as different because it's autonomy and agency. Let me be able to do this. Give me what I need to be able to do this.
Yes, and I think maybe you agree with me or no. We can talk about that. Autonomy, I think maybe add for this, not just let me do it. Maybe let me think about that. Why I'm doing this way? Why I should do this or no? What's the motivation to do or change my work, my life, my different kinds of decisions, everything. Yes, it's it's some level stage which we need to think about before when we start to do something. Yes,
Right.
and I agree.
And yeah, and maybe agency was the better word to go for here. But think about compliance training, and think about all the compliance training that you are required to take. And I can't tell you how many different versions of those compliance trainings I have written over the years, right? And developed and put in front of people. And think about the ones you remember and what you remember about them. Think about training that you remember. I was in a workshop, a learning experience design workshop, and the facilitator was amazing. And she started by pairing us off and having us talk about the learning experience we remember most. And when you get into those situations, you start thinking, what is it? What is the one I'm going to pick, right? What is the one thing I'm going to pick? And I'm like, okay, you go first. And it was someone who was training to be a doctor. He was in his first surgical training. It's like on a heart or something. He was in his first heart something. And it was not virtual, it was real. And the teachers are like, okay, here's what you do. And he went to do it. And the instructor said, no, not like that. But it's like, oh my God, put me in here to do this surgery, and immediately, no, not like that. And it made me think, and you also have a question here about that. When I was learning to be a pilot, training to be a pilot, I thought that you learn something first. I didn't know that you get in the airplane in the left seat, which is the pilot, not the co-pilot. You get in the left seat and you start the airplane. That's your first lesson. Oh my God. Right? How immersive can we be? can we do that with everyone, with our learners? Here and there, yes, but yeah, it's pretty deep, pretty meaningful, pretty memorable.
Yes, I saw that you have like a hobby about aviation and like something like that, and I thought, oh my God, Phyllis, because for me it's like just my new step. Like I want to start like my aviation course in the end of the year after my summer vacation, but like I'm really so like thrilled about this experience because aviation is something about our fears, because we don't know we can control it or no. It's like some skills because like we are in the air, we are not in the earth, like yes, and it's a different experience. Could you share with me like if you like ever feel afraid, and how do you cope with your fears, and what supports you like in this hobby? And I think it means how do you work always with your fears and it's your behavior like everywhere.
That's a great question. Don't you hate it when people say that? That's a great question. They're all great questions. So someone I trust greatly, my husband, he's been flying for a lot longer than I have. He trained as a glider pilot and can land an airplane without an engine. That's what a glider pilot does every time.
Mm-hmm.
Get towed up and you come down. So right there is my safety net, and I don't fly without him. I'm actually not current with my license. I don't fly anymore because I have lupus. So I don't know if you know that. So, that's dealing with that, illness in your life and things like that. But the fear piece is alleviated by trust. We still have fear, but I trust. We were flying recently and a gust of wind hit that really tipped us, probably more than any other turbulence. It wasn't very turbulent at the time, but we hit a gust of wind under the wing and it flipped us perpendicular pretty much, and righted the airplane and trusted Joel's experience and him in that place. And I'm going to take us on a little diversion, and I'll come back to the rest of your question. That plane is his exoskeleton. I love to fly. He lives to fly. There's a big difference. It's part of his body. It's part of his being. I think about the things that are part of my body and my being, and some of the work that I do, and some of the other hobbies that I have, and where that goes. And, at this late point in my life, the things that I focus on and think about and study is this mind-body connection, and what we learn through physical, because I never really considered all of these pieces. So what does that mean? And how do we design these pieces into our learning experiences, right? So before we go any further, just on this fear piece, the fear in my work is tied to responsibilities, often tied to responsibilities that we have. Can I do this? Will I be able to do this? Will I have the supports that I need, right? Is something going to fall out from underneath me? I don't really have a big fear of change, right? I don't always like change, but I know that that's part of life. And I have coaches. I have a life coach. I have a leadership coach. And the importance of those people are huge. I used to have one person who was my life and leadership coach. She passed away, unfortunately. So just a tribute to Emma Hamer here for being the most incredible human being in the world when she was in this world. Having a life coach, having a leadership coach, so that I have someone to talk to about my fears and I can openly express them and honor them.
Yes, it's about me too. Yes, I have my own therapist and like person who can support me when I have some fears, and I can openly like to talk about that.
And this is really, this is really important, is this notion of mentorship, and everyone in the L&D space should be mentoring someone else.
Absolutely. It's like the same. You can be the great body coach, but you have your own body coach, and like last week I was in San Francisco in a conference, Better Up conference called Uplift, and the speaker oh my God, I don't remember his name. His last name is Clear. He's author about habits and about, like, he has a great book, Atomic Habits. And yes, and he told, like, first step, you need to start to do something like step by step, like small pieces, like, yes. And second part, it would be great if you have someone who can support you in this journey, because, like, okay, I remember about my running journey, because, like, I started run 2 years ago. And yes, in the morning you cannot, like, wake up because, like, and go outside to run, because outside is so cold and you are in the warm bed. But, like, if it happened with my running coach or with my, I don't know, my best friend, we did it together, I know that it's my responsibility. I cannot be lay on my bed. I have to go. And it's really important. It's great if we have someone who supports us, and it's brilliant. And my question was, I think it's really important, and for our listeners too, you talked about physical emotions, which we have. And if we have physical emotions, and of course, not just physical, if we have some kind of different emotions, we can learn faster. And how does it work in instructional design? How to do your learning program, like, so deep and so great about leadership skills? What we need to do in our training design that's like they will start to learn faster? Can you share your opinion and, like, maybe your experience on this part?
So we're going to go back to graphic design, because any visual design is about eliciting emotion. Make me something peaceful, right? We're working with AI now, right? Work with Dolly or other image editors. Give me a serene image. Give me a futuristic image. It's all emotional. Imagery is emotional. And this is where beauty comes into it. And what I mean by beauty and designing beauty into our learning experiences is where that emotion comes from. So there's also shock in some of our training. I had a client who works with social workers who wants to transition their training over for an EMS audience, emergency medical services. While I was at TechLearn last time, EMS World was down the street. And I went because I'm like, well, here's a perfect opportunity for me to immerse myself in a different space, to get to know what this whole world is like, so I can give my clients some information about audience discovery. They do training so differently. So differently, because you need to know what to do in this environment. I tried everything they had. I tried, the low end developed technology enhanced spaces. I did the 3D. I ended up killing a couple people in that one. 3 walls, you're sort of in this scenario. I did the virtual reality ones, right? You're learning in these emotional states. And then I went around in this huge expo hall and turned the corner, and there was a disaster tent set up. And there was blood everywhere. It was fake blood. But I was suddenly in this disaster and completely overwhelmed, and got an actual physical reaction to this learning environment. And that blew me away. We're forgetting about our physical spaces. And then I want to go back to a conversation I had with another colleague who was working at KPMG about fish tanks in spaces and greenery in spaces. And think about all of the work that is put into designing a physical space for anything, for an experience, right? Where are the plants? What color is the room? Think about your feeling when you go into a brick room with hard chairs to take to listen to some new training or something. Or, what is that environment and the role that this environmental piece has in our physical reactions? That's all part of this. It's, how we learn best. Why do we learn? Why do we go to conferences, right? To interact with other people, to see new things, right? Sometimes you go to a session and that session blows your mind away. And yeah, you were there that did it. Think about these other spaces. Think about what happens when you're walking and you run into somebody. Think about what happens when, you're over by the pool and you're having a conversation. All of these pieces, part of our physical being's actions and absorption.
I totally agree about like everything what you talked about, like yes, and design and like the beauty and like feelings which we have like inside the room, and like VR we can touch, we can feel like something. And of course it's about video, it's about stories which we can share, right? Like it's not just like a lecture or something, it's like stories. And of course it's we need to implement a lot of interaction for have like our personal experience with people. Like if we train like leadership skill or something, we need to have like some real example, like real exercise to work like with the team or somebody, like we need to have it. It's why, yes, I agree. It's great when you join some conferences and you have this experience, not just you sit in a big room and just listen, and like yes, your body like looks like the same figure like your chair, like, and just nothing happened, because like yes, it's our experience, it's from experience, like yes, and great emotions from like which we see and which we hear. You started to talk about technology and you started to talk about the conferences. Can you share your story, how you connect your instructional design training experience with technology? Because now I want to talk to you about like Test Kitchen, TechLearn conferences, and everything what happened in your world about technology.
So as I said earlier, I love technology. It's geeky, right? But give me these toys to play with. Let me see how they work. How could I use them another way? And I've always been fascinated by this. And it really is, for me, the most important tool in your toolbox. And I'm talking your home toolbox, right? The one you have at home with all the nails and the hammers and the screwdrivers and the drills and the this. The most important tool for me is my shoe, because more often than not, I'll use my shoe to bang a nail into the wall instead of a hammer, right? Because why not? Things are just tools. How we might use them is where the fun comes in. I was sitting at a conference in the back of the room. I know it was the back of the room because I actually hit my head against the wall. The presenter was lecturing on constructivist learning and engaging our students, our learners. And I'm hitting my head against the wall thinking, no, not another one. Don't just sit here and tell me, show me, let me do. And I was on the conference committee that year. It's an online learning consortium. And we had a debrief meeting, and I said, we can't just keep doing these conferences with lectures. We need something where people can come and play and do and touch. And they said, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, we'll make some sort of test kitchen. And they said, well, who's going to do that? And I said, I am. And so I called the craziest people I knew, and we brought it to life that year. And the first year we did it was at the Online Learning Consortium's Blended Conference in 2014. We had stations set up and, audio, video, all sorts of tools and tech, and come over and play and do. And I knew we had it. There were two things. One was a man who came and sat down with one of the test kitchen chefs for 3 hours to talk about Twitter and social media and how they might use it. And the other was a man who came up to me and pointed over to where the podcast stuff was set up and said, I need to learn how to use that. And I said, oh, are you going to do a podcast? Do you need to use a microphone? Do you want to do some, are you creating training? Are you creating courses? I need to learn how to use that. And I said, do you want to learn how to do a setup? And he said, no, I need to learn how to use a laptop. My boss just gave me one and I don't know how. And I knew we had done it because this man was not comfortable asking that question anywhere else. And he ended up learning how to use a laptop, making a video, sending it to his boss. And that was the first instance of the test kitchen. We brought it over to Training Mag. We love doing the test kitchen at Training Mag. And it's come and play and see and share and do and make. And the test kitchen has had so many different iterations with so many different organizations and so many private installations, and we love it.
Yes, and like I called test kitchen in Training Mag, like Gordon Ramsay's kitchen is so hot, like his kitchen, and like so like technology, like you can do it, like you can. Yes, I love it so much, and yes, it's incredible experience for us, like for different kind of startups, because you give a lot of opportunities for them to show the audience how does it work, how technology is really important in our life. We don't need to afraid them. We need to know how to use them and how to use it in training and development, like AI, like different kind of VR, AR, like different technologies. And like I love it, and like I really appreciate you and all the team, like because you really love what you do, and we feel it like people who develop different kind of technology. It's really important. I have a mission. I connect people and technology. In Test Kitchen, it's the same way. It's why we are on the same page, because you connect like people and technology. And you told that it came from your experience and to Training Mag, and maybe we will talk about like the trends in technology, because you see a lot of. And how do you see the like evolution of educational technologies over the past few years? You told that's like over 10 years you are in a test kitchen, and which trends in this field has impressed you the most? It's so interesting for me.
The trends that have impressed me the most are not what you're going to expect. So, yes, AI is magnificent. I'm lucky to have had my hand in that space a year before other folks did, and got to play and see and do and make. For me, that's a digital assistant. I consider AI a digital assistant, my companion, right? I can workshop with it, create. There's all sorts of issues around it, but this access to tech has been huge, right? Everyone can use this, everyone can do this, everyone can play. I am completely and absolutely fascinated by location-based technology. Location-based is something we have not harnessed to our advantages. Augmented reality, magnificent, love it. Layering of content, layering of information. This all ties back to my fascination with geographic information systems. I used to do GIS work with mapping when that technology first came out. The way that location-based technology is being used in retail is interesting, right? You walk past something, you get a notice on your phone, hey, I see you're at the mall, at this shop, whatever. I mean, technologies can be used, that the location-based technologies are there. When we start using these technologies, LiDAR, iBeacon, all of this tech, and incorporating it, it's also part of that experience that we were talking about earlier, the physical space, that location. It's where we are. It's about that physical being. And so you're walking down the manufacturing line, and you have that alert that the machine you just walked past is broken, call the tech, right? You're out here or something. That's just a tiny little bit. But those are the technologies I am most fascinated by. And then the other pieces are robotics and toys. We're so tied to our computers, right? This screen. What about the things we're holding? Those are the technologies that I'm fascinated by.
Yes, it was really unexpected for me, because everybody loves AI. It's like, yes, this technology disrupting. So like, yes. And I want to ask you about startups which develop like different kinds of technology, and this is too like I'm incredibly curious to know what products are currently prevalent in the market, what trends you see, like, and how you could predict the future of educational startups. Do you foresee like your particular future for them? Like, and yes, you see a lot of startups. Like, tell us. Yes, I know that's AI, a lot of AIs. Maybe you will tell us some like real product which is really inspire you and you see it and like you love it?
The tools that I see evolving out there right now, of course, there's this huge push with AI and what's happening. And in the EdTech space, it's how do we incorporate these AI tools into what we're doing in order to give learners agency, right? Autonomy, got them, coaching, building coaching into these platforms, and also creating community. So connection, community, autonomy, all of these pieces. What is AI doing? The people who I see succeeding in this startup space are folks who are willing to talk about problems that people were not willing to talk about for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, learner retention might be one of them. We have this big problem with learner retention. What does that mean? How do we, solve it? Oh, here's an AI driven coach bot type thing, in that space. For EdTech startups to be successful, they need to really, really define the problem and talk about the problem, what that problem is. I think you've done a great job, right? You've done a fantastic job. Tools that I am completely in love with. I think you met Denny Duvachel from LiveCase, and just what does it mean to take case-based learning and layer technology on top of it and have learners interact with a bot, and where does that fit in, and how can we have situational learning in that space? Some of the other tech that I've seen, AR, VR based, I think virtual reality has its place, but I think augmented reality is it, really, what does it mean? Anything that involves layering content here and there. There's a new tool that I'm playing with called Waggle. Hits on your soft skills piece, weaving AI and coaching together to have insight into my leadership approaches. So by, having it listening to my meetings, helping take notes, but also giving me advice and insights on my leadership. Do I delegate enough? Did I promote the success of people enough? All of these things. So that's insight. And tools like that. Anyone wants to throw me a new tool, throw it my way. I'll play with it and see what else I could do with it. So those are two tools, and they're not brand new, but they're my favorite things to play with right now. I know Hector, my partner in crime with in training test kitchen, Hector Valley. He's got the Ray-Ban glasses. I bought him the Ray-Ban glass. We bought the Ray-Ban glasses for him to try out and see what that was like. And his experience is also interesting. So, something new out there. Do I want to play with a digital assistant that can do everything? Not really, right? Would I rather buy, spend my money on a robot dog and consider how that might work to create a learning solution? Yeah. And I will keep my eye on all the AI tools coming out.
When I was listening to you, I thought about how it's really important, like when you create some real product, like in educational technology industry or HR, because I'm in this industry, like I've been over 15 years, and like I love technology, we talked about, and it's really important. Remember that technology, it's just like a small piece which can like connect methodology. It means problem which our learners, business, HR, L&D profs have. Like it's first of all. Second part, it means when we create some really like interesting product for the audience, we need to create the best user experience. It means design, it means like how we do it like so simple for our learners, and of course for administration that and like everything. And third part, it's technology. And fourth part, it's really important because we have a lot of technologies product all over the world. But why people don't use it? It means it's about people's behaviors, and we need to think how to change their behaviors. Because you remember when iPhones came to our life, And it was, why? What? Like iPhone, nothing? Like, how does it work? My kids, they don't know now how did this work before. It means we need to think how to integrate this great product to the audience, like to your learners, to the big companies. And like, it's my next question. Why do many companies still use eldest technology? Like in my industry, I have professional software for virtual classroom, Lanes AI, and like it's a brilliant product. And we thought about technology in the end, but like we thought about methodology, we thought about design, user experience, about everything, like about people behavior. But why so many companies use Zoom or Microsoft Teams or something? Because it's not professional software for learning. And what advice would you give to software developers like me, like startups which you see every day, that's like L&D pros transition to more professional and advanced software?
You don't always want to use the shoe to get the nail in the wall. When you're building that really important house, you've got to use the right tools, right? What is your base technology? How are you building on top of that, right? But some things work and will always work. My rotary telephone still works. Am I going to take it with me in my car with a really long cord? No, right? But it still works.
Work, yeah.
So, what is the tool for the job? What is the reasoning behind it? And as I age, I have more questions about this because do we really need to make everything work faster? I think we need to slow down. I know I need to slow down.
Yes.
Does it need to be faster? Not necessarily. Does it need to be better? Well, if it breaks a lot, it does. Is it the right tool for the right job? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there are tools, somebody wants me to get on a WebEx call, and I cringe. I absolutely cringe. Please don't make me do this, right? But it's like, let's hop on a Slack huddle. Yeah, it's appropriate. It's perfect. I didn't even know it was there. Let's use it. It's great. Okay, done. We're having our conversation here. Let's do it. We're done, right? Would I have a webinar in a Slack huddle? No, right? Right? You want to use appropriate tools in appropriate places. I don't know how to make things better, There's always that question, especially in education. If we build it ourselves, we'll get exactly what we want. If we buy it, it'll be supported.
Yes, it's true. I totally agree. And several questions in technology industry, like will be about, is there something missing? Like in your opinion, like Phyllis, like have you ever thought about what the world of educational startups lacks at the moment?
I can think about what I would love to see. And what I would love to see is some fund that was unlimited to let people make and create who don't have access to make and create. So I'm sure there's a lot of ideas out there that folks have who are not privileged enough to have the funding to make them happen. And yes, there are incubators in schools, thank God, and startups that come out of those incubators. But for me, my wish is access. And I know that's not like a specific, I've talked to so many people who have such great ideas, but they don't have access to a development team. They don't have funding. They don't know where to go to get funding. It's like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. That's silly. Right? So maybe more playgrounds and more test kitchens.
Yes. And more like incubators inside the industries, like it means inside the real customers, like inside, like we are more in enterprise solutions, right? Like we create some product for businesses all over the world. And it means like it will support, because like when people ask me about like my experience, because I'm entrepreneur for over 15 years in like educational technology, HR technology, what's the best advice for the new startup in this industry? And always I talk about, it would be great if you will find your first customer who has an idea and want to create with you, because they trust you, because it was my experience, because the biggest worldwide bank came to my company because they knew me and like, oh, Tamara, we have an idea, but we don't know how to create something. Like, we have Skype, Zoom and everything, but it's not for virtual classroom. It means they invest their idea, but you can create, because like, yes, it's like, I'm lucky person because I'm from L&D industry, and like, and my team, they're really great technology team. But it's the best if you have some startups incubator inside the different businesses to develop the industry. It means they can invest some money and you can invest your time and like everything, and you can try it. You can try to do it. It's like, it's really true. And the last question here will be, what advice would you give to professionals in the training and development field, like instructional designers, trainers, people from technology, like looking to develop their careers right now in like 2024, because it's really important now, like what skills they need to develop, like curiosity, I know. We need to think about it. It's first of all. Oh yeah, but like, share your opinion.
What we all need to do is step back and look at the bigger picture. We are so often focused on what we need to get done in this space, and maybe we can go one step out and say how that might affect our team, how it might affect the organization. But let's go bigger and consider what sustainability might mean in our space. So as you all take this forward, because I'm going to be here for 5, 7, 10 more years, then I'm going to be sitting in my backyard and not getting on Zoom and not answering my rotary phone. What does sustainability mean in this space? Define what sustainable design means, sustainable learning means for the future.
Yes, thank you so much. It's a great idea and I love it. And like, you're a person who are involved in different kinds of project in your life. Can you share several your project which you really love to do right now? And if my audience have some project which they came to you, yes, share with us. I know about Test Kitchen. It's like a child, it's a baby which you support and like you develop, but like different kind of, because I know you have a lot. But like, what's your favorite project now which you really love to do, and like you can share the expertise in these fields with the audience?
Well, like I said, I'm back in higher ed, and this looking to scale online programs, and I love that challenge. What does that mean? What does it mean to design beauty in this online space and to scale that? Again, it's a sustainability issue. How do we do this and sustain? How do we build a team? How do I feed my team of very talented instructional designers so they feel comfortable, confident, and ready? And what does it mean to me to look at the big picture? I think that's why I brought that up, right? That's what matters a lot to me. And creating spaces where learners have autonomy, where learners have agency, where they can learn and help others. So, again, all tied into coaching, mentorship, leadership, and humanity.
Yes, humanity. It's like the word which I want to start to ask you, because my podcast, it's not about like professional industry. It's about humans. It's about people, person, which my great guests. And like, I want to ask you several personal questions. We started from that, and I want to like the end of this part, because I really love your family. One part of you and like Rosalie, your daughter. Yes. And I know like you have really amazing family with kids, like 2 son, daughter. Share with us, what do you all love doing together and what inspires you? Tell us what's the secret to deep relationships between children and parents, because I saw it in real life. I saw it. And because I know like you bond with your kids is truly impressive. You and like, yes, can you share? I really love it.
It's all about the love and being willing to love and give. I mean, what brings us together? We come together around food. That's me, and not all of them want to have that, but we do come together around food. music, but also around inquiry. And that is, I'm grateful to the father of my children, to both of my children, to all of our extended family, and all of my close friends, except that when you step into this space, you are in a world of inquiry. We ask, we challenge, we talk, we debate, we discuss, we care, and we also do nothing sometimes. I remember hours and hours of my childhood sitting and adulthood sitting on a boat fishing with my father, not saying a word for hours and being together. And we argue, we don't always get along, we're normal. Everyone knows how much they are loved, even when you don't like someone because you don't like their behavior. Everyone knows that they are loved. And we have big hearts in this family. And I'm so thankful that we do.
Yes. I see it and I feel it. I told you, it's really like when I saw you and Rosalie together, and I feel her heart beat, and it's like the same way like you have. It was really so interesting to see because I'm a mom of 3 kids, and it's really important for me.
Well,
And
my son Isaac also has a big heart, and someday you'll meet him. You will.
And you know, it's like you're a family which I wanna join. You know, like I wanna join your family, your table with a great dinner, with music, dancing. I saw some videos how Rosalie is dancing, and like yes, like it's a great like when we can connect all our love with our people around us, when we can share it, and like we know that it could be multiplied 3 4 5, and our love is so like bigger and bigger and bigger. And you told that you meet your friends, like family and friends. What qualities do you value in people, and which ones do you consider the most important in friendship?
Honesty, openness, humor, passion, and love. You know when people are willing to just love and what that means, and to disagree, and to share, to tell stories, to listen to each other. We are attracted to people who have similar qualities, and also to people who are so very different so that we can learn from them. People who can give, because I give, right? So we want, what is giving? What does that mean? Yeah.
Yes, it's true. And like all the values, it's mine. And I love like honesty is really like so important for me. Love and cares, and like sense of humor, because you know when we are elder, I think we can alive just with the sense of humor. Yes, and it means a lot in like in the friendship and in the relationship with the kids. Like you know, sometimes like my kids' age, it's like the great age when they start to bite you like a little pieces. They try to touch your borders and like what are doing, and it's the one way. It's just sense of humor. And continue to love them, and like with the friends the same way. And like of course I can help but ask you about the role of art in your life, because I know it's really like and I'd be delighted if you shared one of your favorite pieces, like whether it's a film, book, painting, like sculpture, or anything else, because I know that you travel a lot and you like explored the world. Yes, can you share?
Well, my favorite piece of art is right there. I have been in the arts, the, fine art space. I need to be surrounded by beauty. I need to be surrounded by beautiful things, meaningful things. My favorite painting is a painting by a woman named Carol Sun, who I used to work with many, many years ago. It's part of her China Mary series. You can look that up online, I think, still to this day. It's just a lot of movement and a lot of color. It reminds me of relationships and friendships. It was my 30th birthday present, and we don't stay in touch, and we chat on Facebook every now and then, but it brings such deep meaning to my world. But I have a lot of art, and every piece has a different meaning. There's a piece that I have hanging in my bedroom now that, my children fight over who's going to get the art, who's going to get the art. But I also make art, and I work in enamel. I do fire torch enameling.
Wow.
And ever since I moved in August, I haven't been able to set up my studio. So hopefully I'll be able to set it back up soon and play again, because I need to make things.
Oh my God, I want to see it. Share please with me. When you know that it's your, not just professional person, but like your friend is doing by your hand, like handmade, it's an amazing. Yes, share please with me. I love it. Okay, thank you for sharing. And my 3 last questions, it's a questions which I ask all my guests, like from episode to episode. First of all, what was
Wait, hold on. Before you even go here, it needs to be noted that Sardik Love gave you these questions. Dr. Love, these questions came from Sardik, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so shout out, hello Sardik.
Oh my God. Yes, when I will post my information about this episode, I will tag him and will tell him that you said, like, for him, hello. Yes, he was my previous guest and he asked you about something special. Yes, but like first question, it's about what was the last thing you asked ChatGPT?
Well, don't use ChatGPT, just so you know. I use Claude.
Yeah, okay.
I use writer.ai. Big shout out to May Habib, who, if you want to follow somebody in this space, in that EdTech space.
You can share if you use them, because like in my first episode was the question, what you Google? Like what was the last thing you Googled? And I thought, oh my God, why Googled? Now it's ChatGPT or something from AI. Googled, it does not work.
I use Claude to review something I've written and make it better. Yes. How can I make this better? But I would say in Writer, it was I write something and then I have it either expanded or shaped. So it would be just, I'm sending this note to faculty. Can we make it any better? Yeah. That's it. Nothing exciting. Sorry.
It's okay. It's like, I know some questions. Can you show the last picture on your cell phone or something? Like, it could be not just some interesting or something. It could be like just food or something. It's okay. Yes, and tell your favorite quatrain or maybe like lyrics, and explain why exactly you choose it. It's your favorite?
Bob Dylan is really in my head right now. One of my favorite songs. And we'll just say, don't think twice. It's all right.
Yes, great. Thank you. Yes. And ask the next guest on my podcast, yes, how it goes. Every guest gets to throw a question at the next guest, and I believe it adds a unique touch, allowing the previous guest to pose a question to the next one. And last week, Sardik Love was my wonderful guest, and she passed on his question to you. Are you ready to answer for this question? Yes. Here is it.
What is the biggest challenge that you've overcome that you didn't think you could?
I'm going to say I haven't had that one yet.
Okay.
I have not had that challenge yet because I have felt like I could overcome everything that has been thrown at me, although it may have been difficult.
Thank you so much. Well, then, like I suggest asking you a question for the next guest.
How do you define engagement, and why are you even using that word? Because I can't imagine how we can define it. So how are you defining engagement? Why are we using the word engagement? And what other word would you use instead of engagement that captures what you're trying to capture?
Yes, great question, because I know who will be the next guest. Phylise, thank you for your invaluable insights. It's been a pleasure to have you with us today. Your presence has been truly inspiring, and I'm deeply appreciative of the wisdom and perspectives you've shared. I'm confident that our conversation has left a lasting impression, enriching and motivating all who have tuned in. Thank you for all the listeners for being an integral part of our podcast community. Stay tuned for more captivating episodes filled with engaging conversations and narratives that ignite the spark of inspiration. Until we meet again, take care, stay curious, and continue to shine brightly. Bye!